know, darling, I suppose one of the most popular articles of women wear today is nylon stockings.
Well, you don't have to suppose that, honey. Your supposition is correct, Captain Tim. Anything as hard to get as nylons is bound to be popular. It seems to me, though, honey, that you'd better forget nylons for a moment, at least, and look over towards Mr. Devereaux, because he wants you to say...
It's 1:30, an open house with the Captain Tim Healy's.
And please come in. You know, you're always welcome at open house with the Healy's. Tim and I enjoy these daily visits with you, and of course, you know we come to you from this very informal little room right here in our own home. And now it's time to curl up in your favorite chair, make yourselves comfortable, and take that well-deserved few minutes rest, especially on Monday, Tim. Wouldn't you say so when there's so many...
Why do they call Monday Blue Monday, darling?
I think because there's so many extra jobs to do. Look at all the socks you have to wash on Monday morning after one day's holiday.
Well, I was down at the New York hospital the other day, and I happened to look out that window, and it faces on an alleyway, and both sides are filled with clotheslines, and there were clothes stacked, and I thought of those wonderful little mothers all washing their clothes and hanging them out. A whole alleyway full of them.
Well, I've found if you wash a little bit every day, it sort of saves the weekly bunch.
That's good. Well, a few minutes rest, you know, as we were talking about a little while ago, is really a great asset to all busy mothers and homemakers.
That's right.
But you know, darling, no one will ever really relax unless they let those pesky shoes clunk to the floor. And I say clunk, because when they hit the floor, they do something to you in a way they make you feeling. They give you an emotion that is beautiful.
That's kicking them off, in other words.
Yes, I kick them off. Yes, with your shoes off, you really rest and relax. And feeling at ease, I hope you'll listen to the Healy's.
Well, honey, what you started to say about nylons has aroused my curiosity, Captain Tim. Are you keeping a little secret all to yourself? Do you know something about a sale of nylons? Come on now, don't be so smug. You know, you looked pretty smug over there a moment ago.
Well, darling, you know, Mrs. Tim, women always keep secrets so much better than men. And I'm going to live up to that soft impeachment by telling the secret.
Uh-oh.
Where you can get nylons. Oh, am I happy to pass that word out. That's the best news item today. If I were a newspaper man, I'd have it headlined in the papers today that there's nylons. Yes, tomorrow morning. But you won't tell anybody, will you, Mrs.
No.
Tim? Promise faithfully you won't tell?
I promise.
Absolutely true?
Come on.
Cross your heart, hope to have a chicken? All right. Well, Gimble Brothers might not like me telling the secret.
Oh.
But boy, tomorrow morning, watch the people go to Gimble's for the best nylon stockings you ever saw in your life. When Gimble's gives you nylon stockings, they give you the best.
So that's what you've been smiling about ever since you had that phone call. Gimble gave you a tip that they're going to have nylons.
They're going to have nylons, believe me, and they're beautiful. Yes, they have nylons, but not for sale today, of course. That's starting tomorrow morning. You can get a precious nylon stockings at Gimble's.
Mm-hmm.
So go to it, my good friends of the Healy Open House. I'm happy to bring you that good news, and that's just what it is, a news item for you.
Well, I'd like a couple of pairs, honey. 8.5, Captain Tim. Or I'd take one pair. Is it going to be one pair?
I wouldn't like to say, Mrs. Tim. I think if you got one pair of nylons today, you'd be very happy.
I think so. But, honey...
I know I should have kept that secret. Now I'm going to have to stand around the crowd and push and shove and everything else.
Do you feel strong enough to do that?
But I'll do my best, darling. Yes, sir. You deserve the best, and nylons are the best. They do look beautiful on you, sweetheart.
Mm-hmm. And there's another little thing I'd like to say right now, that you kissed the Blarney Stone, huh?
No.
Do you think you did? Would you like to tell that little story about kissing
the Blarney Stone has always been aimed at Tim Healy whenever anything had happened. I've had teachers at school say, Captain Tim, you kissed the Blarney Stone. Well, I've kissed the Blarney Stone. That is true. Down there in
Tell
the south,
about it, because it's a very good story.
Down the south of Ireland, you know, you come to a little station out of Cork, and it's called Carrickmacron, but we Australians couldn't say it very good in Irish, so we used to call it Carry Me Home. So then we'd leave the little train there, little steam train, and we'd step onto a side car, that's one of those jaunting cars, and heavens only knows how you hang on, but we did. And then they'd drive you along the lovely Irish river there and out through the stone walls, and at last you come to the old castle, old Blarney Castle on one side, and the new castle a little bit the other way, and you climb up those stairs. How they hang on, I don't know. And then you reach the top, and then you stretch yourself on your back and crook your neck like an S, and you put it right up on the wall, and you kiss the stone. I stood one afternoon, Mrs. Tim, and I held ladies' ankles for 2 solid hours while they kissed. Oh, now, Mrs. Tim, their skirts were tied down. And it was in the days of long skirts, of course. But kissing the Blarney Stone is lots of fun, but boy, you can...
And that's supposed to give you a glib tongue? Is that the idea after you've kissed
it? It gave me a sore back that day holding ankles so they could kiss it down.
Well, honey, I have a little item here, too, for the men. A nationwide disposal at 3 million pairs of new socks has been declared surplus by the Navy. and they're going to be distributed through all the shops throughout the country, and the sizes are 9.5 to 13. Now, they're 90% neutral color, and the rest are black.
Well, Mrs. Tim, you get me 4 pairs of black at 11. Sit me down to the ground. I'd like to say something about those socks, though. If you haven't had any for your good men, get hold of them if you can. These are socks, the black ones especially. You can wash them, and you see no sign of a dye coming out of the socks, and that proves they're very good socks.
Because through the war, the socks have been so full of dye that when you wash them, the water was just whatever color you were washing. Isn't that right?
That's true, darling.
But they say, of course, Tim, that isn't going to appease the women who are still looking for nylons, but it's going to help a little bit anyway.
As far as I can understand, the only stockings that a lady can get today are nylons. At least I've heard that.
Well, one thing, you can wash them out every night, and they dry that quickly anyway.
I was coming up on the Madison Avenue bus a while ago, and I saw a policeman standing keeping a bunch of ladies back from going into a stocking store to get nylons, I suppose.
Oh, I know. The lines are all down the block. Well, according to the latest reports from Washington, honey, we still need to save extra fat, because it'll be many months before the fat situation will become as plentiful, as we need it to be.
Well, there was a time, wasn't there, when the butchers gave you some red points and 4 cents for each pound of fat saved.
And they still give you the 4 cents. But, I think the red points, Tim, are what was so attractive about that offer. Because since the red points haven't been used anymore, I think we've all become careless. Mm-hmm. Now, if we start a campaign like they started in Albuquerque, New Mexico, homemakers will not only help the fat situation, but they'll give some benefits to the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts or any other organization.
What was the plan out in New Mexico, Mrs. Tim?
Well, homemakers saved their kitchen fat, and they turned it over to the Scouts or to some other organization, but out there they did turn it over to the Scouts. And they collected the money for the fat from the butchers, and they placed it in a fund to buy a ranch for themselves. Mm-hmm. Now, a place to spend their summer vacations and summer holidays.
What a grand idea.
And, honey, it's working out fine. The Scouts are hot after the waste fat, and by calling on the homemakers each day or every few days, they keep the campaign going. Now, the Girl Scouts could do the same thing in New York, it seems to me, and raise funds for going after waste fat. Wouldn't you think so?
Oh, I should say so, darling.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. Well, the Boy Scouts and the Campfire Girls and the Girl Scouts could make money for their various troops by just calling on the homemakers for the spare stuff they've saved.
That's right, and it'll definitely help the soap situation, because without fat, there's no soap.
The other day you asked me if you could change the subject while we were talking like this. Mm-hmm. May I change the subject today?
You may.
Let us leave fat and go to another something very delicious.
Oh, all right.
Grapefruit is very popular today, Mrs. Tim, but I once heard a man say he didn't like grapefruit. He was disgusted with it, full of seeds and neither grape or fruit.
Yes, I've heard that, too, that grapefruit was neither grape or fruit. But I suppose he got splashed in the eye, Tim, while watching someone eat grapefruit. But I love them, honey. So do you, I think. They're grand before a meal, or they're grand for breakfast.
I agree with you, Mrs. Tim. Certainly I agree. But do you mind if I ask you one little question?
What's that?
Well, how did they ever get the name of grapefruit? There's nothing of the grape about them.
Gee, I'm glad you asked me an easy question. I thought maybe you were going to ask me something I didn't know, and there are many things I don't know, honey. But that's an easy question, Captain Tim. You've seen grapefruit growing, haven't you?
I certainly have.
What do they look like on the tree?
Well, now that you remind me, darling, they look like a large bunch of big yellow grapes.
Well, that's the answer to your question. They grow like a bunch of grapes, and that's why they were given the name in the first place of grapefruit. And I'd like to have a big juicy one right now while you're talking about them.
Well, let's have some as soon as we get through, Mrs. Tim. And by the way, down Texas way, your home state, Mrs. Tim, take a bow, will you, darling?
Mm-hmm,
take a bow.
I will.
The grapefruit are red.
Well, that's not red, honey. They're not exactly red. They're pink.
Oh, I'm glad you made the distinction.
Pink grapefruit, that's what they're called. And Tim, they don't need sugar. Those grapefruit you can eat or squeeze and drink the juice just as you do from oranges, and they are very sweet. Of course, they came from Texas, darling.
You've been talking about the Victory Clothing Drive, haven't we?
Oh, yes, honey.
May I read you a little human interest story?
Good.
Just tell you a little human interest story that is really worthwhile, at least I think so. It shows the need for clothing in Europe. And the story goes, the crowd in front of the house almost hid the streamers of black crepe that proclaimed sorrow within. The house was such a small one that you wondered why this huge crowd of mourners had gathered, and the street was in rather a run-down quarter in Belgrade. And then you were told that here, as in city after city in Europe, an obituary notice in the newspaper amounts to a classified ad. A very few of these people had come to mourn the dead. All the others came to ask about the effects of the dead. Perhaps there were a few wearable clothes, a coat maybe, or a pair of shoes. Clothing is so scarce in war-destroyed lands that even the last dignity of death is not respected. Estimates have it that 100 million people in Europe are without a single change of clothing. The ending of the war has not brought the quick turning of factory wheels, nor has it brought the materials for cloth or shoes for blankets. But over here, yes, right in that closet of yours, we have much to spare that they can wear. The Victory Clothing Collection is now making it possible for you to send gifts of that clothing that you don't actually need. Make up a generous bundle today and attach a note, won't you, to cheer the one who receives your gift. Then take your bundle up to the nearest Victory Collection people today. Let your old clothes take on new life over there.
And, honey, may I just say that if you can't get it to your nearest collection depot, that you can put it right with your laundry, because the laundry industry in New York and the laundry workers have joined to take your bundle of old clothes right with your family laundry. And I think that's going to be a big boon to getting that bundle out of your house. It is for me, I know. And may I say also, Tim, that I'm getting out those recipes from those cracker recipes this week, I promise. I'm a little slow.
One lady told me that that recipe for cracker meal that you gave them, about the crackers, those 4 or 5 recipes on that sheet, that they were the most delicious recipes she'd tried at any time.
That's
so
right. I have all those wonderful letters here before me, and I'm going to get them off this week, I promise.
I hope all our friends will send in for them. Don't you think we ought to say something about the March of Dimes, darling?
I do, honey. Will you?
Well, the March of Dimes is on. Of course, you all know we don't have to mention what the March of Dimes stands for, how it was started, and all that sort of thing. But the March of Dimes means America is doing something for those that need a lot of help. Despite the fact that things are pretty bad in Europe and across the waters, we want to help everybody, but that's America's heart, as big as all outdoors. The greatest heart in any nation on earth is the American heart. And now the March of Dimes is on. Little ones are stricken with this terrible, it's almost a fatal disease to me, but they're able to cure a lot of them. Thousands of youngsters are now running and dancing and walking because of your dimes. So see that you help the March of Dimes. When they come round from the theater with that box, don't get up and walk out. Stick your dime in the box. A dime isn't much. We can all spare that, surely.
Well, even the children like to help on that drive. Well, honey, I want to say, too, that tomorrow we're going to have Edmund with us from the Gloucester House, and he has a very great human interest story about this.
I think I have a card here, the number of my lobster. When you get a lobster down there, darling, they give you a number. And the number of my lobster was 47,044.
I'm going to put him on the spot on the air, honey, and ask him to give that recipe for that wonderful French dressing that he serves on his salads, too. I don't know whether he'll do it or not, but...
He won't give it to you, Mr. He won't.
Well, he won't in private. Maybe he will in public if I put him on the spot. You think he might?
There is one place in America which is nothing else or more or less than a fish eating place. And still, there's not one sign of any odor of fish. I've never been in a place in my life like it.
And you know, he started in the American way, way downtown somewhere in a tiny little spot. Now he has this beautiful place uptown. And another thing, honey, we want to plug today is that desert song, because I do want people to go to see the desert song if you haven't seen it. It's beautiful music, and it's refreshing, and you can take the whole family if you'd like to.
Well, I think that's a good idea, Mrs. Tim. And, of course, may I just repeat that very good news item I gave out a little while ago?
I wish you would.
I'd love to tell that. I just love to tell that because I love to see ladies getting what they want. And goodness me, the American women have done without long enough.
And maybe you will be down in line to see some of your friends.
Well, I'm going to go very early. I'm telling you that. I'm going to try and be on that line very early. That is nylons at Gimbel's. So get yourself a lovely pair of nylons and, believe me, make everybody happy. Yourself included. That's the thing. If you make yourself happy, then everybody else will be happy. And don't forget the March of Dimes and the Victory Clothing Drive. And believe me, we'll be happy to have our good friend Edmund from Gloucester House tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Say goodbye, Mrs. Tim, to all your friends.
Glad you came. Goodbye till tomorrow.
The Healys are coming to you over the Associated Broadcasting System.